Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CSTV. I'm your host Kathleen, a girl tutor, Madam CS, and this is the women warriors of Africa's independence. Stay tuned and have it true and real. Kindly remember to subscribe, like, share, and comment on this video. She is known for her role in directing the Mau Mau war fighters to victory on June 1953 at the battle at Ruiru River in Mathira, Nyeri County. Her name greatly coming out as Cindi Reri, but officially her name Annie Wamuyu Kabubi. She is among the women warriors of Mau Mau, whose history is not given much attention, leave alone being documented officially and being recognized as a fighter. The CSTV travels back to history to bring you the story of Annie Wamuyu. Who was Annie Wamuyu? Where was she born? How and when did she enter Mau Mau War of Independence? What was her role in the Mau Mau War of Independence? How did she leave Mau Mau War or the Mau Mau fighters? And today, where is Annie Wamuyu? Stay tuned and let's have this discussion. Welcome back. As I've always told you, when you look at the history of Mau Mau, both the colonizer and the colonized are represented as male figures. Women's story in Mau Mau actually is not largely acknowledged and told. Many women who were great Mau Mau fighters are only mentioned, sometimes with their nicknames, and the story continues to glorify the men generals, the men fighters, etc. A good example of those women fighters who are just mentioned by their nicknames and the rest is left behind the curtain is Cindi Reri. Cindi Reri was officially known as Annie Wamuyu Kabubi. Now today let's talk about Annie Wamuyu Kabubi. Annie Wamuyu Kabubi was born in 1934, Kiarut village, Ruguru, Mathira, present-day Nyeri County. She grew up as a normal girl, a standard homestead, together with her siblings. And she took her first oath of Mau Mau in 1948. At this particular time, this oath was not a Mau Mau oath, but an oath of the Kenya African Union. And remember, Mau Mau was just the militant wing of the Kenya African Union. Now, at this particular time, her role, what the function of the oath she took was to bind her to cow, that she could be recruiting girls to cow or to the movement that was agitating for Kenya's independence. However, in 1951, she took the Pathuni oath, that is the Mau Mau warriors oath, at Garama village. So when Mau Mau declared itself official, she took the warriors oath. There were so many oaths in Mau Mau, and one of the oaths was the Pathuni oath that was taken by the warriors, all the guerrilla warfare fighters. So after taking the Pathuni oath in 1951, she took a job as a maid in a white settler farm for a purpose. That was in Indarawa. She was purposely sent by Mau Mau fighters to take up a job in that white settler's house, because the owner, or that British owner, had guns in his house, and the Mau Mau fighters knew that. So our role was to go there, pretend to be a maid, look around the house, know where the guns are, signal his Mau Mau fighters to come and attack and take the guns. She did that. So after knowing exactly where the guns were, one of the Mau Mau fighters who paraded to be a relative came to visit her. And when she came to visit her, she signaled him where the guns were put, and then the fighter signaled fellow fighters. They came in, they raided the house, took away the guns, and they ran away together with Anne, because if she was left behind, the police could arrest her. 1 month later, she took another job as a maid in another white settler farm somewhere in Nanyuki. And she did the same thing. Surveyed the house, knew where the guns were, called in the Mau Mau fighters. They attacked the house, ransacked it, picked the guns, and went away. Now, in 1953, she was posted in Nanyuki, and her role was gun running. So in gun running, the function of Anne was to ensure that the guns from the villages reaches the fighters in the forest. So she was the woman who was responsible for knowing that, for ensuring that there were guns that were coming from the villages or from where the attacks had been made, and that these guns reached the destination, that they reached to the Mau Mau fighters. She only entered in the forest as a guerrilla warfare fighter in 1953 when villagization began. By 1953, the British administrators had started seeing the women as the ears and eyes of Mau Mau. They knew that for the Mau Mau war to be, or the Mau Mau fighters to be weakened, the women had to be encamped somewhere. They had to be stopped. These were the women who were providing information. They were the women who were giving the food. They were the women who were helping in guns acquisition and transportation. So, villagization began as a way actually to encamp the women and draw them from Mau Mau. So when villagization began, Anne went to the forest, entered the forest. And in the forest, she joined the battalion that was called Hika Hika. Hika Hika loosely translates to Hari Hari. And this battalion was under the command of General Gina. Hika Hika had 30 women combatants. And these were the roles of these women combatants: correction of intelligence, transportation of guns, food supply. And Anne was the rational commander who was in charge of distribution of food among these combatants. Sometimes in the forest, food was scarce, and therefore it needed a very serious and strict person to carry out food distribution to ensure that each combatant gets enough food. So that was the work of Anne. Anne received her military training just like any other guerrilla warfare fighter from the Second World War veteran called Mbiti Manuira. So women also underwent military training in the forest for Mau Mau fighting. They were not just there seated and waiting for men to train and fight for them. So the training involved the following. She trained the use of the 303 Enfield rifle. She trained in the use of Bremen gun. She trained in the use of the Sten gun and the use of a pig gun that was used to kill elephants, which they called the Gatua Horo. Cindi Reri is known and is accredited for the success in the Ruiru River battle in June 1953. The battle took place in Ngonyarana location in Mathira. In this particular battle, the British had planned to ambush Mau Mau convoy that was closing the river to attend a Mau Mau meeting. An old woman who was around 70 years had spotted the British convoy, and they also spotted the Mau Mau fighters crossing, and they alerted them that wherever you are going, the British are there waiting for you. So Cindi was sent to check what was going on. She came from around that particular region. Remember, she was born in Mathera, so she understood the landscape so well. So after going and seeing what was happening, she realized that the British were ready to fire. They were actually waiting for the Mau Mau. So what did she do? The battle began, and being from that particular area, she was given the responsibility of hoisting the Mau Mau flag to provide safe direction for the Mau Mau fighters. So if she raised a flag, the Mau Mau fighters knew their flag. They could do what? They could follow that flag to avoid coming one-on-one with the British administrators. It is one of the dangerous, actually, roles that she was doing, because hoisting the flag, she had to go ahead alone. It's like testing food for people to see whether it is poisonous. If it's poisonous, you die. But Cindy did this work so diligently and successfully. Her direction helped the fighters close the river and fight their way back to the forest. It's also very important to note that Cindy was among the 5 women combatants in the 1954 battle in Iriari, where 150 British officials were killed. She was among the 5 women combatants in a war where 150 British soldiers were killed. She was also in the 1954 battle in Yeshotheri, where General China was wounded and captured. So Cindy escaped the arrest with a wounded ankle. After China's capture, the battalion, the A.k.A battalion, where Cindy was and which General China actually commanded, was disbanded. And as a result, Cindy was moved to Nyandarua under Field Marshal Kimathi. Now, she has moved from Mount Kenya region to Nyandarua region. In 1955, Cindy was out to spy on 2 colonial Kikuyu police officers. Her intention was to spy on them and steal their guns. But she happened to come into face to face with them. One of the Kikuyu colonial police officers knew her because he came from Cindy's place. So, afraid that she will be killed, she lied that she was out to surrender. She no longer wanted to be Mau Mau. And therefore, she was arrested and taken to Sagana camp for interrogation. The colonial administration did not find evidence that it could take Cindy to detention or to prison. And therefore, they put her on restrictive duty in her home area, after which she was released or allowed to go home, marking her end in Mau Mau War of Independence. So, you see, this woman started the war quite earlier, 1948. And yes, she left the forest quite early, 1955, 2 years before Mau Mau could be totally weakened. But she really did play a very great role in the Mau Mau War of Independence. And perhaps because she was not among the last people to leave the forest, her story is not much told. But that one does not take away the fact that she was truly a Mau Mau fighter who participated in 3 major fightings or battles where the Mau Mau fighters won against the British. It is the Women Warriors of Africa's History, the CSTV. Madam CS there. Stay tuned until next time.